All right, the first unit we're looking at today is the LR Int Hybrids Trio. I love this unit, but this team needs some desperate help. That's just because the youth team is not very strong, and you really are leaning on youth over Defenders of Justice and Hybrid Saiyans. Now, this team could have had a chance to have an amazing buff post Global Dokkan campaign with the AGL Videl, but Videl ended up not being super solid, and that Videl would have helped us Gohan a ton. Now, the Gohan himself is not necessarily the issue, of course, of this form or this team. It's more so two things. One, you're really only going to be in Gohan for one turn, and not that you couldn't use him for more after that, but really after his giant damage reduction turn goes, there's not much of a reason to actually use him. So then you go into Goten and Trunks, who are dodge reliant. They need Hybrid Saiyans to help them out as well. So of course the youth also has to be Hybrid Saiyans. It cannot be just youth, but it needs to be youth / Hybrid Saiyans, which is the reason why, for example, units like the AGL Kid Gohan's EZA is going to matter a ton into determining how well this team will age in the future. Yes, we do have the BoJack movie Gohan. Yes, we do have the Goten and Trunks Super EZA, right? I think those are very important things to do as well, but I think that the biggest point I'm trying to get across is there is more for this team that can help him out, but the fact that he relies heavily on youth and hybrids combined, it really narrows down the options that can go on this team in the first place. For example, I mean, the AGL Future Trunks is coming up on EZA, but he's not on youth, so him being good is not necessarily going to shift how good this team will end up being. Same thing with the future Gohan and Trunks LR. If this was a tag unit, sure, but it's not. So it's just hard to get a grip on what you need to exactly see for this team to be good. Now, granted, you don't need an entire team of Hybrid Saiyans, you just need 500% for Hybrid Saiyans, so that's good. But they really do rely on youth a lot, since it is, you know, there's no cap, and it's 200% attack per youth category ally on the team and 10% dodge per youth category ally on the team. So if you get, you know, 7 of them on your team, you have 70% dodge and then 85% dodge on super attack. So there's a lot of things that are important for this team to have in order for them to function properly and to be very dominant. I mean, they can do some crazy damage, but their team is just not strong enough. And granted, youth has never really been that strong, and I know that the Gotenks active is going to help out a lot, with of course allowing them to be able to get stat buffs for themselves and for the youth category allies around them to be better, but there's still not a ton of youth options that we're looking at right now, especially Hybrid Saiyans youth, that is going to carry this team right away. In terms of hope of like, man, who could we see? I mean, Bulma, sure, because you don't need a full team of hybrids, but like LR Bulma's EZA, the Pan EZA, Tech Pan's EZA is going to help a ton. Again, the AGL Kid Gohan EZA, Super EZA for Fizgo tanks, right? These are some of these units that you have to see in order for this team to come to fruition. And a lot of it right now is not necessarily in reach. So and again, you do have the LR Int Z Gohan Carnival unit as well, which will help out, but this team does need a little more work before it's going to cross that finish line. Next, we have STR Rose. I really do enjoy this unit, but we cannot decide. Like, it's going to hurt the fact that Sleeper Bosses is just not amazing. Now, it's way better than it was when he came out, right? I mean, now you have Wrathful Broly, you have this new Tech Golden Frieza, you got the EZA for the base form Broly, like the side banner unit. You know, you have options now, but the team's still not complete, right? If you're gonna run a team, it's STR Rose. You can run AGL Rose. I'm 50-50 on him. I do like him, but in content that does a bit more damage than he can handle. He's just a fish. Fusion Zamasu I don't care for unless you can debuff the enemy. And then outside of that, you have like Hit, you have Kefla, but those units you don't really want to run on super bosses, right? You're really running those like on Universe 6 or on their own leads, which is you know, is what it is. But Jiren, you know, as an example of a unit maybe you want to run on this team, but there's still not a ton of options, even with the Frieza and the Wrathful Broly coming out. I mean, Super Bosses is still in this weird position of like, is it good? I mean, it's not bad, but I mean, I'm not sitting here like, oh my gosh, this team looks so good. Now, by post 9th anniversary, this team could look amazing, but Rose is probably not going to be around by then, and that's just a thing we got to consider when we look at all what's going on here for this team. I think Rose himself is still fine, right? I mean, Rose can go on a Megas team, which is honestly where you want to run this guy. You do not want to run this guy on Super Bosses, but I mean, if Super Bosses had, for example, another pair of units that could go on the next rotation that doesn't require an STR Rose to be there, this team would be so much better, because really the rotation you want to run is Rose, Goku Black, slot 1, and then the other friend Goku Black and Zamasu in slot 2. That's kind of what you want to run with this team, and then float, AGL Rose, and then he gets that extra 10% damage reduction, right? Like that's kind of what you want, but they don't really have the units that can go into that other slot. Now you could do, I guess, Golden Frieza and Wrath Broly together. It's not like they couldn't hold their own, but it's not like I'm sitting there like, oh, that's going to be the best combo ever. Now it could, but I just do think that there's just probably a unit or two that could really help out this team. Now, in terms of help in the future, I don't really know if there's really anything right now I'm sitting here looking at that I'm ecstatic about. I mean, if you're looking at 2024 units, there are some for sure, but there is some hope right around this area in 2023. You do have the AGO Kale EZA, but the issue more so is the fact that you don't really want superclass EZAs for this team. So Kale's not going to necessarily do enough for you, but you do have the Tech Corrupted Zamasu Super EZA, which is definitely coming soon. I don't know when, but they're on the table. Tech Rose Masu, another Super EZA. STR Rose, another Super EZA. There is help, but first of all, I don't know if they're going to tap into STR Rose. He came out like 2018, 2017. So it just depends. So did Tech Rose Masu. I understand that unit also came out 2017, but again, I would just be surprised if they release another STR Rose or another Super EZA for Rose just after giving us the AGL Rose. But Tech Rose Masu, I feel like, is another person who on the table just due to the fact that they are not afraid to reach into needed to release in 2017 to get a Super EZA, aka Goten and Trunks got their Super EZA. So I will not rule them out, and I do think that Tech Corrupted Zamasu could Super EZA sometime here in the future that will really help Super Bosses get to shine. All right, the first two units we looked at were more so like they led great teams, but if they had better units on their team, they would be better. But what if we looked at a unit who you're probably not going to run their team anymore, aka Gloria, but he still needs a home in order to be good? See, the difference between Rose and the hybrids is you can run them on other teams. Now, I wouldn't recommend necessarily running the hybrids on another team. I mean, they're not going to be terrible, but Rose definitely shines on a Megas team. But when we look at Gloria, there's not a ton of teams that he's good on right now, right? You have Mission Execution, which does help out a little bit with Tao being the lead there, but outside of that, there is not a ton of meta teams you're going to run currently. You do have Accelerated Battle with Int Hit, but you're not getting the full 220%. You're only getting the 170. So, Gloria outside of his own team is struggling to have a true home. So the question is first of all, who will be his home? And second of all, will that change Gloria's perspective too much? And I think the answer is simply, I don't know if it's necessarily going to change it, but I do think it's going to be a Daima character, right? You got to think about Accelerated Battle and Dragon Ball Seekers. And the fact that every Daima character is on Dragon Ball Seekers, I would imagine, I guess probably the adults won't be on Dragon Ball Seekers, right? Probably all the mini forms until then. But I do think that if you have Dragon Ball Seekers and Accelerated Battle, you're going to have a team with Gloria, Mini Super Saiyan 4 Goku, Do, and Ku, right? A lot of these guys should be leading that or under that or whatever, right? I mean, we just don't know when the time units are coming out, and we don't know if that's going to be fast enough for Gloria to actually have it home. But Gloria really does need a place to actually be usable at, because he's only on, Tao's team, which, yes, it is the 220%, which I just realized. I was sitting here like, Gloria doesn't have a 220% team. Tao has one. I forgot. I was looking at the wiki and it didn't show that it had him on there, but then I clicked on Tao and it does show that he's on the 220. So he does have a home there, but you're probably not going to run him on that team too often, just because Tao has a pretty elite option of teams, but it doesn't mean Gloria cannot be used there. So I do think Gloria needs a proper place to, get buffed and help work with the team or whatever. I think Gloria still has its uses, but I would, I do think that Gloria should have more spaces to be used. He just has a very limited arsenal of teams. All right, guys, I'm going to stop this video for 1 second because this video is sponsored by G Fuel. If you guys enjoy these products, there is a wide range of all kinds of products. The favorite ones, of course, for me are the ones with the Dragon Ball flavors. They have the Kamehameha, the Super Saiyan, the Evil Emperor, and the new line of Cell Saga products. If you guys are interested in any of these products, click the link in the description. It has my code already applied, but just in case, go ahead and put in that code in that checkout on the promo code slot, and you'll get yourself a discount on your order. Again, that is LR24 as the promo code for 10% off of a G Fuel order. All right, guys, back to the video. Another unit we have is STR Cell. Now, again, like I mentioned with Gloria, it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have good teams, but it's more so having an elite options of teams and having good spaces to go into and whatnot. Again, Gloria would be able to fulfill his role better if, for example, the team had a remove all buffs thing, or had, I don't know, there are things that can help keep these people alive. And I think Cell's a good example of this. Look, you cannot run 2 cells. You just can't. It's just not, it's not feasible to do something like that. But Underhit's team, for example, right? Underhit's team sells on his 220% team. That's pretty good, and actually hit and sell Link fairly well for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but more so the point I'm trying to get across is the Cell needs an LR lead, right? When we're talking about these units being on these teams, we're talking about like these units are really good individually. Now imagine Cell had like an LR super perfect Cell team, and he had crazy support for STR Cell and AGL Cell. It doesn't mean these units are bad. It just means that it makes me mad that these guys are already so good individually that if they got a proper home, the same treatment as like the Omega team got and the Gogeta team got, that they could look even more spectacular, and like Cell could be tanking Rose's supers, right, at max down. And that's just the thing I think about when I look at units like this, because they are very high quality units. And again, Cell's that example. So is AGL Cell if you give them the perfect, but they just don't, they're meant to be used for the previous meta. And not that you can't use them in the new meta, but as I mentioned in a previous video this week, but it's just more so the fact that if we had, again, for example, a super perfect Cell that gave like 20% attack and defense to all Android/Cell Saga allies, these guys would be looking incredible, and crazy support flowing from like a Cell Junior support unit, right? If they had stronger teams, these guys would look amazing. And again, there's a reason why like Kid Goku's not on this list and stuff like that, because they have access to stuff like that. AGL Kid Goku's team is full of support. Tao is just really good, and he has access to a crap ton of amazing EZAs. Again, but things like Cell, for example, he doesn't have a ton of help around him. In fact, he's the one creating help for others, but he himself is not getting that same treatment. And I just feel like he would be even more elite if he had that level of care. All right, finally, we actually have a true bad unit on this list, and that is Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku. Now, it is interesting to note that he's on this list because I mean, we are talking about units being better, but really previously we were looking at units that really aren't bad. We just want to see them look even better. Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken's different. He's just bad. But here's the thing, right? Yes, we could all talk about how his HP lowers and whatnot, right? But in reality, his biggest issue is relying on a team that sucks, right? Repso Universe 7 is not good. Now, it does have some opportunities to be good with the EZA to the Fizz Golden Frieza, which could help, I guess. But he's like, it would just be a good floating option for that team. But outside of that, you're waiting for Super EZA Anti-UI, you're waiting for Super EZA AGL Evo, you're waiting for Super EZA Roshi, you're waiting for EZAs for the Gohan and Frieza and the Gohan and Piccolo, you're waiting on Super EZA Blue Kaioken STR, Super EZA 17, right? EZA for the 17 and 18 int card, which will come next year, right? That's what you're looking for. The problem is Blue Kaioken came out this year as the, well, there was 3 reps of Universe 7 this year that came out early in the year, and they all just did not deliver. Go Frieza's fine, but if you're talking about him in today's world, he's not great. And then you have the Evolution Blue Vegeta, which is just Evolution Blue Vegeta, right? So I don't know. It just feels like these units should have came out last year. Like, if they released, like, I don't even know how you would do this, but like for Christmas or something like that, you did Blue Kaioken and Evolution Blue Vegeta. For whatever reason, you did something like that. They would have looked a ton better then, because no one looks at Gotenks, right, and says, "Oh my gosh, he's bad." No one looks at Gotenks and says that, right? Why? Because he came out during a meta where he just dominated because Go Frieza was the meta and Gotenks dunked on him, right? Kaioken Goku absolutely dunks on Go Frieza. Evolution Blue Vegeta, for the most part, outside of 17, dunks on Go Frieza. But themselves are not good in the 2025 meta. These are 2024 units. Those two are 2024 units that have somehow snuck into our 2025. And in fact, you could have swapped the 2025 Golden Week and the 2024 Golden Week, and you probably would not notice a difference in quality. As in, Buu and Goku are both usable right now, and Blue Kaioken at least would have been good then, and the end hit, well, he would have aged really well. So, I mean, it's just really weird to see Blue Kaioken underperform so much, but I can't help but think that it's because his team is so bad, and I can't blame him. All his help aged out by the time the new anniversary came out, so it's just like, you know, what are you gonna do? Like, all of the Universal Rival Saga meta was during 2024, and then they released this guy, like, I don't know, 5 months after 2025 started. Like, this is a new meta, it's a new time. And yes, I understand we were in a tournament participants area. That's fine. This guy doesn't rely on tournament participants. He relies on reps in Universe 7. Now, granted, it is all, and it's the whole rotation. The whole rotation has to be reps in Universe 7 for 70% attack, right? I mean, he still could have had a better kit altogether, 100%. But like, what if there was a, you know, a skinny Buu unit, right, that healed, or a Piccolo unit that healed or something like that, right? Like, there is ways that could have given this guy support to look better. And we've seen a bunch this year, and I mentioned it with Cell, is tons of units who provide support for the entire team. This year has been the year of crazy support. Tech DBS Cheetah can give up to 280% defense on his active turn. Like, there is no excuse for units to be underjuiced. Absolutely no reason. And there are units like Blue Kaioken who are just not going to be good until they bring out another batch of reps in Universe 7 units. And the only way it's going to be relevant then is either A, it happens in 3 years when he easy A's, or B, they're going to have to bring out a drastic level of support for him to even be usable, which sucks because he's such an anticipated character that a lot of people waited for, and he just did not deliver. So, I don't know. What do you guys think in the comments below? Do you guys agree or disagree with what I am saying? It's just frustrating because I was definitely one of the biggest, like, people waiting for Blue Kaioken, and I do think that when he came out, he wasn't the worst in the world. But I do think now that we are in this global Dokkan campaign era where you have to kill the boss so quickly or they kill you, and Blue Kaioken's doing 15 mil supers with only having 50% dodge, it's just not fit for this meta, and I really don't know what meta they were planning for this Blue Kaioken to be used for. I think maybe they thought they cooked, right? Maybe they thought, oh man, look at this, 200%, 170%, 170% there, 100, like, and then dodge and guard and crits, and oh, and then his counterattack's gonna do so much damage. Like, maybe they thought they went crazy with him. I don't know, but I just think he's a bit undertuned for what he should have been, especially coming out 2 months before. Absolute crazy power creep. So that's just my opinion, and I think a lot of people would agree. Like, and the funny thing is, you look at his passive, right? Like, launches additional super attack, launches additional super attack. You don't want him to launch additional super attacks. Like, this unit should have worked like Pycon, like 2 attacks that do like 100 mil. This guy would have been so much better in a scenario like that. You reduce the amount of HP you lose, and then on top of that, you are doing a crap ton of damage, which is what he needs to do. And then, of course, only having 50% dodge turn 1 with not a lot of defensive mechanics on top of that is pretty flawed for a unit to age well. So, I don't know. But what do you guys think in the comments below? Let me know what you guys think. Make sure to click the links in the description if you guys are interested in more content. And then, of course, on top of that, click the third link in the description for my G Fuel link for 20% off your order. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.